welcome to another exciting episode of the Platinum Pulse, Become the Shift. Today on our episode, we have the wonderful Gary Summers. Gary Summers is a professional speaker, magician, hypnotist, hypnotherapist, and author, having written a trilogy called Mind, Body, Soul. He has a master's degree in physiology and certifications in hypnotherapy from the American Institute of Hypnotherapy and Cognitive Behavioral Therapy from the National Association of Cognitive Behavioral Therapists. Gary has developed a number of school programs, including Discover the Magic Within You, Say No to Drugs, where he uses magic to teach school children proper choices concerning smoking, drinking, and drugs, and life skills for students, where he helps prepare high school students for life after school by providing them with strategies that teach them how life really works. He also works very closely with the RNC and RCMP and delivers a program called Kids and Drugs, where he helps parents develop skills that help their children through adolescence. He is owner of Training for Success, a St. John's-based company specializing in employee training and evaluations. Gary conducts workshops on stress and work-life balance, as well as hypnosis seminars on stop smoking, weight loss, and phobias. Wow, that's cool. Gary's presentations are thought-provoking, engaging, and entertaining, and provide strategies that make life better both personally and professionally. Gary teaches people how to think properly because he says, when you change the way you think about things, the things you think about change. So Gary, that is an awesome one.
That's an awful lot to live up to, Stephanie.
Oh my.
The pressure is on now.
The pressure's on. Let's see.
I'm going to have to perform.
I'm excited. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
So, what can people expect to hear from you today?
Well, when I talk to people, I'll always say, I don't have any special skills. I don't have any special talents. My brain works the same as your brain.
Right.
So if I can figure this stuff out, everybody can figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
So everything begins with a thought. You can't have a feeling unless you have a thought first. So those thoughts can be conscious, they can be subconscious. Consciously, where you think about the thought and think about it first, and then subconsciously where it just becomes automatic. You get up every day and you do the same things over and over and over again, and you wonder why you get a really bad result.
Yeah.
Because you've just trained yourself to that habitual subconscious mind. First thing I always say to people, and I'll say it to your listeners here, when people come to me for smoking, weight loss, stress, get a good night's sleep, whatever it is, the one thing I ask them, and everyone gives me the same answer, I say, do you feel there's something wrong with you? Everyone says yes. Everyone thinks there's something wrong with them. What I'd like to let everybody know right now, that there's absolutely nothing wrong with anybody.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no, you don't have to defend yourself, you don't have to change. Now, if there are things that are not working out for you in life, maybe some behaviors, maybe you're stubborn, maybe you have to be right, maybe you have to yell, those are things that maybe you could work on to make your life better. But you really don't need to change. Everybody is just fine just the way they are. So my goal, my objective when I do these seminars and workshops is to teach people how to think properly. Because once you think properly, then your life becomes better.
Exactly. So why do people judge? Where does that come from?
There are about 35 mental mistakes we make. We call them in the cognitive behavioral therapy world. They're called cognitive distortions, irrational thoughts.
Yes.
So I think the biggest issue is expectations.
Oh yeah, that pressure.
Right? You expect people to think the way you do, to act the way you do, to dress the way you do. People expect that if someone doesn't live in the box that you've created for yourself, then they're wrong and you're right.
Right.
And then that leads to judging people. Why? And I always say to people, if you judge, I hope you live in a glass house.
Yes.
Because if you're throwing a rock at someone, they're throwing it right back. And I mean that not in a disrespectful way, It's just that, judging says more about the person you're judging
Exactly.
than the person who's being judged.
Exactly.
So those are some of why people judge. Expectations, there's assumptions.
Right.
Where
Killer.
the biggest and most popular, the biggest mistake that we make mostly is making assumptions.
100%.
Because you drive down the road and someone cuts you off, and one person will get all upset, give him the finger, tailgate him, and you have no idea who you're being aggressive towards.
Right.
There are people out there who react very negatively towards anything. So you could create a major problem for yourself simply by giving someone, and I can tell you stories of people who had their phones cut off, their electricity cut off because someone got their phone number and managed to call in and get everything disconnected. Just because the person got out of the car, went up to the guy and said, "Do you realize you cut me off?" And this is what he did.
Wow.
So we have to be careful how we deal with people.
Yeah.
And then the other person who just lets it go
Yes.
and says, "I have no idea why." So here's what I do. If someone cuts me off in traffic, I say, "You know something? I don't know why you did that, but I hope you get to where you're going
Yes.
and you don't hurt yourself and you
Yes.
don't hurt anybody else in the process, and you let it go." Because I don't know why he cut me off. Maybe he's on his way to the hospital to see his father who's sick. Maybe his kid was knocked down in the playground. We have no idea why people do the things they do. So here's the question to ask yourself where you never make an assumption ever again.
Yeah.
Am I thinking this, or is it a fact?
Yeah.
And in pretty well every case, you're just thinking it, so stop thinking it. Here's the cop-out. People say, "But that's easier said than done." Well, sure, isn't everything easier said than done?
Isn't everything? Yes.
I'd like to walk over to that door. Well, that's easier said than done. Of course, everything is easier said than done. If you say that,
Yeah.
you're basically saying, "I'm not interested in looking at life any differently."
Exactly. This is
Cognitive-
the only way.
This is the only way. Cognitive dissonance
Yes.
is a term that people use when they're so entrenched in a belief, even when they're given facts contrary to what they believe in, they'll still become more entrenched in their belief. And I think it's because people's ego get engaged and they don't want to admit that they're wrong.
And also things become familiar to them. They might be in a bad situation and people are telling them all the reasons why they shouldn't be in this bad situation, but it's familiar, it's comfortable. They have justifications in their mind as to why they should stay there. They're afraid of the unknown.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So how should we deal with negative partners, coworkers, friends in our lives?
I'll get that question about. Oh man, you must have done your research. It's nice when you get interviewed with someone who does their research.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a couple of things, but I think the number one thing is, instead of criticizing the person for being negative, and now it could be a very close person, a spouse or something that you may know well, but it could be someone that you don't know well. So you don't know their story, right?
Right.
Michael J. Fox said one time, be nice to negative people because they got a lot of stuff going on in their lives.
I say that too.
So I would just say, celebrate when someone does something positive. Just celebrate it and say, now how did that make you feel?
Yeah.
Because you know it's got to make it feel good.
Yes.
And the question I ask people a lot is, would you rather be happy or would you be sad? And no one has ever said to me, I'd rather be sad. So simple advice, stop doing the things that make you sad and start doing the things that make you happy.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that really sparked something in me where I talk about how from childhood, if we're not made to feel important and special and enough and belonging, that sense of belonging, but also the ability to express who we are. If we don't feel that, then we end up just surviving in our environment because our parents are not emotionally present. So our brains have to adapt to whatever we need to do just to be safe and to have everything be okay. And we adapt to that and we repeat that cycle throughout our life.
That is so true. I had a guy came to me a number of years ago, and his self-esteem was down as low as you could get.
Yeah.
Now you look at him from the outside, and he said to me, he said, my father was never present. He said he was always gone. He never told me he loved me. He never said good job. He never said this. So he was so motivated to be so successful. He owned 4 or 5 businesses. He owned 3 or 4 trucks. And on the outside, he looked so successful.
Yes.
But he said to me, he said, Gary, I don't feel that I'm a success.
Because he doesn't feel he's enough.
Because he didn't feel he was enough. And there's a really simple technique that I use for people to go back, because I do past life regression, age life regression,
Wow.
to get people to go back and to relive that traumatic moment, and to get them, instead of looking at it as a child, look at it as an adult.
With discernment.
With discernment.
Mm-hmm.
So when he went back and looked at it, I said, now, is there any other reason why your father wasn't present? And then he thought about it, and when we came out, he said, Mom was at home, she never worked. She said, we didn't have much, but Dad had to work 3 or 4 jobs to make ends meet. I said, exactly. So why do you think he was away so much? And the answer was simply said, because he loved me.
Yes.
Exactly.
I'm coming to that job with my daughter.
Right. So now he's under the understanding. See, cognitive behavior therapy teaches us that it's not what happens to us. It's the ABC of cognitive awareness. A is the action, the things that happens to you. B is your belief in it, and the C is the consequence.
Yeah.
So, if someone says, say someone has a bad day with their daughter, and they get really mad at their daughter. So the action is they got mad with their daughter.
Yeah.
Now the belief is that I'm a terrible mother. I shouldn't have gotten, should is a bad word too.
Yeah.
I should never have gotten mad with my daughter. I'm an awful mother. I don't deserve to be a parent. The consequence is that you feel awful. You feel terrible. You feel a failure.
Yeah.
So take a different approach. Say the action is that you got upset with your daughter. You say, what, it probably wasn't nice that I got upset with my daughter, but I'm a good parent. I'm a good mother. I'm a good person. I do everything I can. I'm human. I'm imperfect. So what you do is, instead of feeling awful and terrible, you just accept the fact that you're human.
And you have grace for yourself.
And you give if you tweak all these stuff that comes in my head all the time.
That's good. This is organic.
I say to people, if you speak to yourself the same way you allow a good friend to speak to you, how long would you allow that friend to be yourself, that person to be your friend?
Yeah.
So treat yourself the same way you treat someone you love, because you're already complete.
Yeah.
You're already there.
Yeah.
You don't need to prove anything to anybody.
Yeah. And it's funny because I was talking on my Instagram stories today about how a lot of times we don't know what our passion is. We don't know what we're passionate about because we don't ever explore that within ourselves. But when we're speaking to a friend that we care about or a loved one that we care about, why do we have all this wonderful advice?
Yeah.
We have such great advice, but when it comes to ourselves, we put others first, especially if we're very empathetic people. We put them first. We want them to feel better. We want to fix them. We want to heal them.
Right.
That we don't express who we really are. So if we start to individuate and really learn who we are and what we're all about, we can really see how magical we already are.
It doesn't take me too long when I speak to people to realize that they have low self-esteem.
Yeah.
And that's a sure sign of someone who doesn't think a lot about themselves.
Yeah.
Because they don't think enough of themselves to heal themselves.
Exactly.
They think about someone else enough so that they can heal them, but they don't feel worthy. You see, we all have our own personal truth.
Yeah.
And if you have a damaged personal truth, if you feel as though you should be down there because that's all you're worth, then why would you even want to work on yourself?
Exactly.
There's no reason to.
Yeah.
So that's why I say to people, there's nothing wrong with you. Your brain is working exactly the way it was designed to, except it's working against you.
Right.
Now it's time to get it to work for you.
That's the turning point.
It's that simple.
So how can people improve their lives?
Oh, boy. Now, we could do a full day on that.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing, and they interviewed 200 Harvard graduates, and they asked them if they had goals. And all of them said they had goals. And then they asked them, did you write them down? And nobody writes their goals down.
Right.
So I think if you want to improve your life, you have to set goals for yourself.
Yeah.
We plan our vacations better than we plan our lives.
Yeah.
We know where we're going to go, where we're going to stay, how long we're going to stay there, what hotels we're going to stay in, what car we're going to have, what attractions we're going to visit. But when someone says to me, Gary, I'd like to retire when I'm 60, and I'll say, well, how are you going to do that? I don't know. I'd like to be mortgage free in the next 10 years. How are you going to do that? I don't know. So, if there was any piece of advice I would give, and this is the one thing I say: if you really want to improve your life, set some goals for yourself. Now, there are very critical things that you need to understand when you're setting goals. Number one is to get excited.
Right.
If you can't get excited about a goal that you're going to do, you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to quit halfway through, or you're going to do a half-assed job of it.
Exactly.
Excitement and enthusiasm are critical.
That's the energy source.
That's it. That's the energy. So that's what you focus on. You visualize. How do you want it to be? Most successful people have no idea how they were going to get there.
Yeah.
All they knew was that they were going to get there.
Yeah.
They knew it.
I relate to that
Right?
as a business owner.
Right? Exactly. So having a vision of what you want to accomplish, that's 95% of being there.
Yeah.
All you got to do then is do the stupid things you need to do to get there.
Yeah.
Write it down.
Yeah.
Once you write it down, you become committed to it.
Right.
And people, and that's why the 200 students that this guy interviewed from Harvard graduates, he said only 95%, only 5% will be successful because only 5% of people write their goals down.
Right.
So how do you write your goals down? I'm sure you've heard of vision boards.
Yes.
Right? Well, of course you did.
Yes, I've done them.
That's why you're doing this.
Yeah.
I had, and people, and if I could put up a graphic to show you what a vision board is, but a vision board is a piece of paper, construction paper, computer paper. You can download things from the internet. You can take things, cut things out of magazines, and you create the life that you want to lead. How do you want to live your life? What kind of a house do you want to live in? What kind of a family do you want? What kind of food do you want to eat? And you put, and I suggest to people not only do a personal vision board, but do a business vision board. And then put it up in a place where you can see it every single day. And there's your roadmap. That's what you want. But see, here's the problem. Most people focus on what they don't want.
Exactly.
And then they wonder why this keeps showing up in their life all the time.
I wanted to talk about that. I'm glad you did
and
that.
we can talk about it now. But so goals are so important to be enthusiastic, to write them down. And goals change.
Yeah.
But once you get that vision of what you want, then the only thing that can stop you from getting what you want is not out there.
No.
It's up
The
here.
limitations in your mind.
Right. And that's the biggest burdens people have are the thoughts that they have in mind.
Yeah.
That's the biggest burden. And I saw a great graphic where there was a little body and he had a huge head on a tray, and he was carrying it around him.
Yeah.
And the caption said, the biggest burdens that we have are the thoughts that we have going on in our heads.
So true, and it's so easy for people to jump on the train of overthinking and blaming and shaming and just overanalyzing things and causing the waters to be muddy, I like to say. It's so easy to do that because that's what a lot of us are used to, being in fight or flight.
When you blame, you're giving away your power.
Exactly. Yeah.
And once you give away your power,
Yeah.
that person now controls your life.
Yeah.
And so why would you want to change if it's someone else's fault?
Yeah.
I mean, taking responsibility is taking responsibility for your words. You know? Here's the thing that I would love people to think about. Before you say something, ask yourself this question. Is what I'm about to say going to make life better or worse? And if it's going to make life better, say it. If it's going to make life worse, don't say it. There's enough people playing down there.
Yeah.
You don't need to be down in the trenches with them.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Take control of if you hurt somebody, apologize.
Yes.
If someone hurts you and they apologize,
Yeah.
say,
Move
forgive
forward.
them,
Move forward.
You know, I interviewed Anne-Marie Hagan,
Yeah.
who at 17 years old, the guy who lived next to her was hearing voices in his head, killed Mr. Hagan. And when Anne-Marie was 17 years old, this next door neighbor came into the house with an axe and bludgeoned her father, 17 axes in his head and his back.
Oh my God.
In his back. And she tried to get away, and she had 3 or 4 axes in his back.
Yeah.
And he died.
Yeah.
And the guy went to jail, and he was up for parole. And Anne-Marie, and she goes to prisons and talks to inmates about this stuff. And she said, when I went to his parole hearing, I never wanted him to see the light of day again.
Right.
And she said it consumed me. It ate up my life, it ate up my energy. It just destroyed everything I had. And as soon as he walked out, and I never forget when I interviewed Anne-Marie, and the expression on her face, and it wasn't anger, it was just calmness. And she said, I let it all go. Now, you talk about people who are upset because someone puts a bit of snow in their driveway, and you talk about this person who decided that forgiveness was the right way to go.
That's deep.
Right? And you know, people say, I don't think I could do that. Well, you don't think you could do it because you're not giving yourself the opportunity. And it's, you know, it's everybody's birthright.
Right.
To hold grudges.
Yeah.
You can be angry, you can be upset, you can do whatever. That's your birthright.
Right.
But let me tell you, if you want to live a life like that, then boy, you will never reach your true potential.
100%.
Never reach it.
100%. And that's what this podcast is all about. Really making people aware of their potential, but also their limitations, because your potential is just so much greater than your limitations.
It's funny. When you say stuff, it twigs me.
Yeah.
I would rather realize now, with my 2 feet on the ground, that I can't fly.
Yes.
Rather than get up in a plane and jump out of a plane with no parachute and go, geez, I can't fly.
Yeah.
I'm okay with my weaknesses.
Yes.
I'm okay with my limitations.
I love that.
I think part of the issue with today's world is that parents want their kids to think that they can do anything. And people can't do anything.
Right. That's a big expectation.
You can have anything you want. Here's what I say to people. There's things I've learned. You can have anything you want. You can't have everything you want.
Right. Boundaries.
Right? You have to figure out where your lane is.
Yes.
What you said it.
Yeah.
What your strength is.
Yeah.
And focus on your strengths.
Exactly.
Don't focus on your weaknesses. I mean, everybody has weaknesses. But I think that's the problem. And I was a teacher for a number of years. And I saw, I would be correcting the kids' homework, and I'd say, he didn't do that homework.
Right.
It's impossible that he did that homework.
Yeah.
If parents want to do stuff for him. I had another, and that's when I do that program, Kids and Drugs, where I teach parents how to help kids become the best that they can possibly be. I had another guy, he lived on our street, delivering papers for his son because his son was too lazy to get out of bed.
Wow.
I mean, what's teachable moments?
Yes.
Everything is a teachable moment.
Yes.
Especially if any parents are listening.
Yeah.
When you are engaging with your children, ask yourself this question. At this point in time, what am I teaching my child? Am I teaching him that if he jumps up and down and screams and yells, he's going to get what he wants?
Right.
Because that's the behavior he's going to bring into life, and that's the behavior. I talk to business owners,
Yeah.
and you may have the same issue. People want to get paid, but you don't want to work.
Yeah.
And that's what we're teaching kids when
Yeah.
we give them everything they want.
That's so
When
true.
we don't teach them the value of work.
Yeah. that's
I
so
remember
true.
my toddler.
And that's up to us. We have to set that standard.
Absolutely. I remember we had a high patio. And I said, now, one of your jobs is to shovel out the patio when there's a lot of snow on it. If that ever collapses, you know, that's a lot of money. So she would do it. God love her, she would do it every time. And I said, now, if you don't do it and there's a lot of snow, and that collapses, that's your responsibility. Who do you think is going to pay for it? She said, not me. I said, oh, yes, you were.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you were.
Yeah.
You're accountable.
Accountable.
I don't think we hold our kids accountable for anything.
100%.
I did a hypnosis show at one of the schools last week, and one of the teachers said, all we want to do is to just keep the kids happy. So we can't fail them anymore. We can't give them a 0. We just push them through. And kids know that. And when they get out of high school,
Yeah.
they're lost.
Yes.
They have no idea where they're going to go.
Yeah, and then their stress threshold is so low because they're not after building that stress threshold up nice and high that they don't feel like they're able to challenge themselves. So they
And then-
take the path of least resistance.
So they meet a kid on the street who shows them a pill and
Yeah.
says, take that, that's going to make you feel better.
Mm.
Boom,
Boom.
he's gone.
Boom.
And that's why there's so many fentanyl overdoses. Because kids take it because they haven't been taught the skills to figure out how life works.
And self-regulate.
Well, see, emotional self-regulation is probably the key to everything. If you want to lose control, if you want to lose your power, get angry.
Yeah.
Because you lose your power.
Whoa.
Because basically, all you're basically saying to someone is, I can't control myself.
Yeah. I love that. Say that again. Say that one
I can't
again.
remember, I said something else. What was that I said?
So when you lose your power, get angry. If you want to lose your power,
get angry.
get angry.
Yeah, you're totally like, you've given the power to somebody else.
Wow. Okay, that needs to be on Instagram.
And not only that, is that you've basically taught people that you can't control yourself.
Exactly.
So if you can't control your emotions, what other parts of your life are out of control?
Exactly.
Maybe you can't control your business. Maybe you can't control your employees.
So it all comes down to being able to regulate and manage yourself.
Stephanie, it would be so easy, not easy for you because you're in a different level altogether, but it would be so easy for anybody to stand up somewhere in an office place or somewhere and just yell and scream to the top of their lungs.
Yeah.
What's that saying about that person?
Literally, yeah.
And then, anyway, that's another story.
We can go on a full topic about that one.
No, we'll be here this time next
We'll
week.
be here this time next week.
You're good.
Good?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a little break. I had to take my sweater off. I got 2 more. So, I have a question, Gary. A lot of times people think that there's toxic positivity when they see these people talking about manifesting and having the life you want, and they talk about toxic positivity. So, can you be happy all the time, or is it a matter of just processing your emotions like we normally should?
Social psychologists tell us that it is impossible to be happy all the time.
Exactly.
I'd rather use the word content.
Yeah.
Because happy, is like you're after smoking a joint and you're happy.
Yeah.
This contentment.
Dopamine on blast
Right.
all the time.
Contentment, I think, is the word.
Yeah.
And social psychologists tell us aim for 80%. 75 to 85%, it's
Yeah.
unrealistic to be happy all the time.
Right.
Here's one of the issues that I'd like people to be aware of. And we've all done it. You've probably done it. You wake up in the morning and you just don't feel right.
Right.
And you think, well, I should be happy. I should be content. There's nothing wrong in my life. Why am I feeling this way?
Judge that emotion.
Right? You judge it. So then you go look for what's wrong.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to look for what's wrong,
You're
you
gonna
know you're
find
going to find
something,
it,
yeah.
right? I say to young kids, if you're going to look for sex, drugs, and rock and roll, you'll find it.
Yes.
Be careful what you look for.
Yeah.
So if you ever wake up, and everyone I'm sure has experienced that,
Yeah.
instead of judging it, instead of going looking for it, forget about it.
Yeah.
And then guess what'll happen? It'll go away.
It'll roll over.
It'll just go over, and
Yeah.
the more important things in life will take over.
Yeah. So emotions are energy in motion.
Right.
So a lot of people will feel fear or anxiety, and they'll judge it, and they'll just become fixated on it, and then the fear takes over and takes control, and then we start thought stacking and start trying to think that we can control the outcome, and then we get ourselves into a spiral.
People look at flying, because I do a lot of work with fear of flying, and they say, I'm afraid to fly, therefore it must be dangerous. They relate that fear to flying.
Right.
And here's the problem. Your subconscious mind identifies that feeling of fear and stores it.
Right.
And then when you have another similar experience of fear, maybe it's an elevator, and you get that same feeling, then your subconscious mind says, okay, I'll give them a fear of flying, that'll solve that problem. Okay, they got the same issue with elevator, I'll give them a fear of elevators, so they won't get in an elevator.
Trauma.
And then they are afraid to get stuck in traffic, so they won't be able to get in their car again, and then your world shrinks.
Exactly.
It shrinks, and then all of a sudden, you're afraid to get out of bed in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
It doesn't happen just one little thing.
No.
It's cumulative.
Chips away.
Because your subconscious mind is your friend.
Yeah.
We don't allow our subconscious mind to do its work because we don't trust ourselves. That's the biggest reason why we don't do it. So we have an idea, we ask 10 different people, you get 10 different answers,
Yeah.
and then you're confused. Oh, I don't think you should do that. Oh, you got to be out of your mind.
Yeah.
If I were you, this is what I do.
Yes.
And then you say, okay, I'm not doing that.
Yes.
Trust yourself is the best. You get a gut feeling. That's your subconscious mind saying, you can handle that, go for it. Because your subconscious mind is your best friend. So get out of your own way.
Yeah, and we don't have to ask someone else because we're only going to receive their limitations.
Exactly.
Right? Like we need to trust our intuition of what's right for us and what feels right. And people become so out of tune with that they're trying to live someone else's life that they don't even know what they want on their pizza anymore. They don't even know when they're hungry, when they're cold, when they're tired. They don't even know how to listen to their physiology anymore.
So you talked about happiness or contentment, whatever words you want to use. There are three things that have to happen to be truly happy in life. And one of these three has to happen to be truly happy.
Right.
Excitement, enthusiasm,
Yeah.
and the third one just happens to be the fifth stage of adversity. So Marcus Aurelius was a Stoic philosopher.
Yes.
And Stoicism says,
Love stoicism.
the world doesn't care how upset you get. It doesn't care. You get a flat tire, you can spend 2 hours kicking and screaming and kicking the flat tire, blaming someone else. At the end of that 2 hours, that tire is still going to be flat.
Yes.
It's still going to be flat.
Yes.
So get over it and get on and figure out what you need to do to fix it.
Yeah.
So we all know the 5 stages of adversity. And I'll give you a really good example. You walk out of the mall, you check in your purse, can't find your keys. For a guy puts his hands in your wallet, can't find his keys, and you go, deny. You go, oh geez, don't tell me I left the keys in the car. Right? Oh, don't tell me I left the keys in the car.
Yeah.
So then you go to the key and there it is dangling from the ignition, right?
Yeah.
Then you get angry. And you beat yourself up by saying, how stupid was I to leave the keys in the car? I'm an idiot, I'm stupid. And then you go to the third phase, which is bargaining. So you say, God, please, have one of the doors open. Because if there's one of the doors open, I promise you I'll be more careful with my keys. You go around all the doors open.
Right.
Then you have anxiety. And then depression.
Yeah.
And I always say to people, you know, it's your birthright to stay in any one of those stages. As long as you want, but it's not going to help you.
No.
So the third piece of happiness happens to be the fifth stage of adversity, and that's acceptance.
Oh, that's powerful.
The world will never always be fair.
Right.
It never will. Now, the more stress you have in your life, the harder it is for you to deal with that curveball that just hit you, that came from nowhere. And you can say, you know, I didn't deserve this. I wish I had my life back the way it was. And you can have a little pity party, and you can take a hissy fit, and like someone said, you know, it's time to put your big girl pants on. Now and deal with life.
Yeah.
So just to accept it. And I'm not saying that it means you forgive someone who treated you really bad, but you just accept it. And that acceptance can create a whole level of calmness in your life, just to accept the fact that life will never always be fair.
Yeah, I find acceptance is really being able to hold two things as being true. So being able to understand that, yes, that was a crappy situation, but also have understanding for someone maybe not being there for you, or someone maybe being angry that day.
Sure,
So holding two things to be true. So this duality where it's either black or white, it's either winning or losing, someone's right or wrong, that's very toxic, and we get stuck in that war zone.
One of the, I mentioned to you about cognitive dissonance and irrational thoughts and stuff like that. One of that toxic thinking is all or nothing.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Either I got 100 on my math test or I failed. Either I got a promotion this year or I didn't do a good job.
Yeah.
And people need to live in that gray area. Right?
I love
right?
that.
Rather than looking at everything as black and white. Because then if you look at it as black and white, then you either passed or you failed. And why do we have to look at life as whether we succeeded or failed? Why don't we look at life as, what did I learn?
Learning and growing and adjusting.
Then you don't have to worry about, people are afraid to step outside their comfort zone because they access success or failure to what they do.
Yes.
I don't do that.
Right.
I look at it as, okay, what did I learn? I could have been the biggest mistake I ever made in my life.
Yeah.
I can focus on that, or I can say, what did I learn from that?
Exactly.
And then I move on and I make myself a better person.
Yeah, and I find that has a lot to do with the flexibility of your emotional intelligence. Like a tree that's flexible and bendy, it can bend with the wind. But a tree that's very stiff and narrow, it's going to crack off. right? So if you could be flexible with your understanding and your awareness, and you don't have that black or white thinking, even like in diet culture, you're either on track or off track. I feel good about myself when I'm on my diet, but I feel bad about myself when I'm off my diet. Why don't we just wipe all of that judgment out completely and learn how to listen to your body's cues? Am I hungry? Am I tired? And what do I need? Am I thirsty? Once we can actually check into that, we can actually really take care of ourselves, and things get easy.
I'm laughing because you just put all this stuff in my head.
Yeah.
My wife and I go to the natural health food store.
Yes, me too.
We don't buy stuff at the other places because you just talk to enough naturopaths.
Yeah.
Friends of mine who I've interviewed and say, look, go to a place where you're going to get good quality stuff.
I go there.
And we went there and this little Chinese man came up, and I was buying omega-3, right? And he came up and talked to me about omega-3, and I could have looked at him and dismissed him.
Yeah.
But I said, you know something, he might have something valuable that's going to tell me something.
I look at that too.
Right?
Yeah.
So, if I shut everybody out in my life,
You don't learn.
then God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I think he meant us to listen twice as much as we speak.
Yeah.
But we don't do that.
It's so funny you say that, because I always say how 2 people can have the exact same message. I feel like both of us have a very similar message.
Without a doubt.
But I say it in a certain way from my experiences and my viewpoint, and as a female as well. And you say it from your perspective, what you've been through, and a male's perspective. So some people might resonate more to how you're speaking
Absolutely.
it, and some people might resonate more to how I'm speaking it. But we can learn from each other, even if we have the exact same message.
Absolutely.
Community over competition.
Here's the attitude to have when you get up every morning. I can't wait to learn something from somebody today.
That's exciting.
Someone is going to teach me something about myself that's going to make me better.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier before we were on camera about antidepressants.
Yes.
And I wanted to just spend a little bit of time on SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor.
Yeah.
So it keeps serotonin in your system longer. First of all, I don't have any adversity towards medications. I think there is a place for medication in everyone's life, but it's not meant to be taken over a lifetime.
Right.
When someone says to me, I've been seeing my psychiatrist for the last 15 years, there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
If someone can help, takes 15 years to help you, that's a crutch that you're leaning on, that for that half hour or an hour you're talking to them, it makes you feel better, and then you go right back to where you were.
You're not getting to the root of the
You're
problem.
not getting to the root of the problem. And so most people take antidepressants as the first line of defense.
Exactly.
You go to a doctor, here take Prozac,
Yes.
here take Zoloft, here take something else, right? And they pop the pill. But here's the key to everything. Here's what you're telling your subconscious mind. I can't handle it. Now, if you keep saying to yourself, I can't handle it, guess what you're going to be hooked on? The antidepressants, because that's what's helping you handle it. And people don't realize they have all the power. All the power. Yeah, okay, you went through a rough time in your life. You needed something to even just to help you think straight, because you're not even. How can you, if you can't think straight because of all the stress and anxiety and crap that people are throwing on you? You need that to help you through.
Exactly.
Once you get through that initial period, now you take your power back.
Exactly. And I always say how being in alignment with yourself and being true to yourself and aware of yourself, aware of your needs, is like having both of your feet on one boat. But being out of alignment with yourself and not being true to yourself and trying to seek validation is like having one leg on one boat and another leg on another boat, and it's stretching further and further apart, and society tells us, take Tylenol, take this, take that, take this, and it will help the pain temporarily, but eventually you will snap, right?
I've talked to a number of people, and they've said to me, overweight, don't exercise, I'd rather take a needle for diabetes than change my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that diabetes is not just sugar coursing through your veins that causes rips and tears and everything, but it causes stroke, higher risk of stroke, of heart attack, of high cholesterol. There's a whole range of problems with that. So, I go back to people, I'm 72 years old.
Wow.
And
you don't look 72.
Thank you. If I had more hair, I probably. But I think when God made us, He asked us to give us a choice. He said, would you rather have hair or would you rather have brains? I would be mine.
No.
So, what was I just saying? Yes, about taking the power back to I'm 72 years old. I'm on no medication.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
No high blood pressure, no nothing, because I've decided that I have control.
Yeah.
I teach cycling 3 times a week, and the other couple of times I'm working out. My wife makes sure we eat properly, we get lots of exercise, and I try to create an environment where I have the least amount of stress.
Mm-hmm.
My headspace is expensive.
Yeah.
I don't let anybody in there.
Right.
And when you're in there, you have to earn the right to stay in there.
Mm-hmm.
But most people just put up with crap.
Mm-hmm.
And I say to people, you don't have to.
But I will say something about that I find is that I find it hard to be proud of my accomplishments and really be proud of myself, because I know how sensitive people are to seeing that. In a victim mindset, they will hear us actually taking charge of our lives and being responsible to ourselves, and they will look, oh, they must have cheated to get there. They must have done this. They were a spoiled rich kid. There's all of these justifications. So how would you bridge that gap? That's what I would like to see.
To help those people?
Yeah.
Okay, so first, the number one thing is, and it's really unfortunate, but it's the way life works.
Yeah.
People would rather drag you down to their level
Yes.
than to do something
Right.
to bring them
Right.
up to your level.
Right.
So, I guess the question you have to ask yourself is it worth it?
Right.
Right? So you see it's a friend, maybe a coworker or something that you feel is struggling. Just help them to identify their goals. Maybe they don't want to work out 7 days a week. Maybe they don't want to run a marathon. Maybe they don't want to do things. But help them, and I think part of that issue is they don't know what they want.
Right.
And I think helping, so the best question you could ever ask someone is, what do you want?
Yeah. I love
Then
that.
I've said that to a couple of people in my office, and when I ask them what do they want, they tell me what they don't want. I
Yes,
don't want this
exactly.
car, I don't want this house, I don't want to live here, I don't want this, and you become an expert at what you don't want. So once someone can help them identify what they want,
Yeah.
that would be the key.
And I think it's very important for these people that have that much anger and judgment towards these people that are taking control of their lives, is to help them realize that they have that power too. And I like to tell them individually, you are enough. You've always been enough. Because they haven't heard that enough. And I think they need to hear that more from people like us, rather than just thinking that, oh, we're good. If you don't have this mindset, that's all you can do.
You have an employee, you have a job opening of a sales manager or whatever job is coming up.
Yeah.
And there's 5 or 6 or 7 people.
Yeah.
And you promote one person.
Yeah.
And someone gets really offended by it.
Right.
They think, I deserve that.
Yeah.
I should have gotten that
Yeah.
job. Why did Stephanie pick that person over me?
Yeah.
And then they don't talk to people, they close up and everything.
Yes.
And so here's how you can help people like that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
You go to that person and say, I see you're upset that you didn't get that job.
Yeah.
They say, yes, I should have gotten the job. Well, no, you shouldn't have gotten the job. The
Yeah.
person who got the job should have gotten the job.
Yeah.
Now, if a promotion is something you really want, then let me help you get that promotion.
Love that.
And now you've got the person on your side. And or if they were really empowered, they would say, Stephanie, instead of me getting upset with you, I understand why that person got the job. I want you to work with me so that the next time there's a promotion, I'm going to get it. Now you got the perfect employee who's going to work with you to get that promotion.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
that's a simple way to turn things around rather than getting angry or call a person in saying they got an attitude problem or something. Just work
So
with it.
being able to work with everyone, even people that are giving resistance, because that's really like becoming the shift. I really want to find that bridge between the people that are understanding of everything and then the people that are just quick to judge and cause resistance. So that's really the bridge that I'm trying to soften.
And the best way to cross that bridge is to realize there's no cookie cutter solution to this. Everybody is different. Everybody has their own story. And so if you have an employee that's struggling, bring him in and say, I feel you're struggling. You know, and I'm here and I really want to help you be the best employee you possibly can.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd say that.
So let's
it's
sit
the
down.
kindness and compassion.
So let's sit down and figure out how you can be the best version you can possibly be. And I'm here to help you. Rather than criticizing them.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if your daughter came to you and said, "Mom, you're the most selfish person," not you, but anyway,
Yeah.
you're the most selfish person I ever met.
Yeah.
Now you can run, send them up to the room, or argue with them for 2 hours,
We can try to understand where they're coming from.
or you can say, you know something? There's 3 statements we can make.
Yeah.
You can tell a lie, you can tell a joke, or you can make a sincere statement. Most people that we deal with make sincere statements. So if someone said to me, "Gary, you're the most selfish person I ever met," I had to give him a reason to say it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he wouldn't say it.
Yeah.
He's not joking. He's not lying in his
Right.
mind. Now, I could argue for 2 hours. At the end of the day, he's still going to think I'm selfish.
Or own up to it.
Or say, you know something? Stephanie, I don't ever want you to feel that I'm a selfish person anymore. I want to work with you so that your feelings are important to me.
Yeah.
I want to work with you so that you never feel that way about me ever again.
That's
better.
powerful.
That's better than letting your ego get into play and take a hissy fit because someone said something that was truthful. Now you have to temper that with someone who just wants to be hurtful.
Yes.
Or someone who just wants to dig in. Then all you say is, or to yourselves, let them be.
Yeah.
Or one of the best comments, if someone is ignorant towards you, says
Yes.
something to put down.
Yeah.
They put you down, right?
Yeah.
There's 3 things you can say about it. What do you want me to say to that?
Right.
How do you expect me to act about that? And most importantly, how do you feel when you say that to me?
Making them
And
face
then,
themselves.
and then say nothing. And if they say, how do you feel? What do you expect me to say?
Yeah.
What are you going to say? I don't know. You say, but neither do I.
Right.
And then just let it go.
Right.
And then just put it back on the person who's trying to create problems.
Yeah. Yeah. I think sometimes as empaths we can, like, I always want to help those people that are, I want to help the angriest people. I don't know, it's like I put that challenge on myself.
Are you an empath?
Oh, severe.
Okay.
Severe.
Do you have problems dealing with being an empath?
Not anymore. I've learned the
Okay.
boundaries,
Okay.
but now I'm actually becoming aware of how I've been in the past.
Okay.
Like, people that are just so angry, I feel like I can help them.
Yeah.
But now I'm learning there's certain, if you're not ready, that's all you can do, right? And that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And when you're a fixer, that's difficult to step back from.
Yeah. So,
But everyone has to be in control of their own emotions. You have to take responsibility for your own emotions. If you let somebody else bother you, then that's giving them control of your emotions.
Yeah.
You have to take that back, and everyone is entitled to their feelings.
yeah.
People don't always express them correctly, but I think all of us basically have the same wants in life. We want to be happy, we want to be successful, we want people to like us. We just want to do good. Now, there are a lot of people who aren't, but for the most part, people who are in our sphere
Yeah.
want that.
Yeah.
Some people have difficulty expressing that, and some people negatively go about it, but that doesn't mean at the end of the day they don't want to be successful.
Yeah.
Everyone wants the same thing.
Yeah.
Everyone has the ability to be good one day, to be bad another day, to be generous one day, to be stingy one day. We all have that. We're all born the same.
Exactly.
So when you see a fault in someone that really bothers you, not an observation,
Yeah.
but a fault that really bothers you,
Yeah.
you have the same fault. It's just
Yeah.
that you've managed to control it. That person hasn't.
Wow.
So that doesn't mean that you're right because you control it. Maybe who knows what he was going through in his
Yeah.
life. So seeing the faults in others can help us to a greater understanding of ourselves.
100%. 100%.
And so that way then you don't judge people.
Exactly.
Because you know that you have that capability too.
Yeah.
And at some point in your life you probably expressed it at some point.
Yeah, and I feel like once you come to that understanding that, like, don't try to fix everyone, don't try to heal everything. Like, being a fixer, you can put so much pressure on yourself that it ends up hurting you. And getting to that space where you're just understanding and accepting that things are what they are, people are where they are. If they're ready to get better, that's great.
Let
If
them be.
not,
Let them be.
Let them be. I think that's wonderful.
And then decide.
And then decide.
Then decide.
Right.
You know, the best gift we could ever, she's going to say some of the best gifts, which is a lot of gifts. Take 10 deep breaths before you do anything. I say, speak when you're angry, you'll get the best speech you'll ever regret.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I love that. And I think the next episode we should really dive into subconscious programming and trauma response. I think we talked a lot about conscious thinking today and just being aware of how we handle things and situations. So I'm really happy about how that episode went.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, and I'm sure we'll have you on again, hopefully, if you're willing. So thank you so much, and I'm excited to have you on again.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.